All right, hello everyone. We're here today talking about the Fable trailer that recently came out from the Xbox conference. I guess I'll put it straight over to you. What did you think of the trailer? The short, about 1 minute 30, I think. Very short.
Yeah, 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 just under a minute 30. Well, first of all, it's really exciting to actually have something concrete to look forward to in a new game. The graphics look pretty up to date, pretty good. There was a good tinge of classic Fable humor in there with the toad. And yeah, I mean, those are the positives, I think. What were your initial thoughts?
I definitely think like the opening sort of scene with the sword buried in in the mud, panning down, and you just see like the hero seal on the hilt of the sword. I don't know if you noticed, but I think that's instantly pretty big thumbs up for me because it says a lot about where the next game's probably going to be set. I think it's pretty much guaranteed at this point now that it'll be, some sort of prequel to, back in time basically towards Fable 1 era. If not like a full reboot that's completely like restarting the franchise in an alternate timeline or whatever, which is really good, honestly. I think everyone who's a fan of Fable can probably agree that it got a little bit too far forward in time with Fable 3 and Fable 2 a little bit as well. So I think everyone's pretty excited to see that the Heroes Guild is sort of going to be like the primary focus again, or at least it's relevant again rather than just being a relic of the past.
Yeah, I think that is a clear indication that the setting's going back to medieval times, back to kind of basics in a way, rather than steampunk. Not that there's anything wrong with steampunk, but it's just not Fable, in my opinion. I mean, I'm hoping it's a prequel to the first one. I'm hoping that it's far enough back to be, even the era of the Archons. To be honest, that's my hope. I guess a few things that I'm not so sure about. Like, I know that they always have these trailers with Fables. Like Fable 3, the trailer, there was heavily featured like a chicken, if you remember, going from like a kitchen to running around to flying away. And then obviously they basically never saw that chicken in the game. This kind of fairy, I know it's within the realms, but you never really saw fairies in Fable. You saw maybe like these evil kind of pixies, but not like, or nymphs or whatever they were called, but not fairies. So I'm not 100% certain on that, but I think it was just for the purpose of having a look around, looking at graphics, and then having the toad flick out its tongue, which is pretty cool. Interesting enough, it's not called Fable 4 as well. It's just called Fable at the moment.
Yeah, I think, I mean, from what I've seen, I think that's just sort of like the code name, I guess. Like, obviously, I mean, maybe they'll just call it Fable, but I don't think so. I think it'll either be Fable 4 or like Fable : something. Because, yeah, definitely, probably way too early for them to have a proper project title, especially since it was like the more CGI, like pre-rendered trailer rather than actual in-engine like gameplay footage.
I think it's kind of like what we got for Spider-Man PS4 on the 2016 E3. Still a good 2 years out from release, where the final release was quite a bit different. The only thing that really stayed was the Spidey suit. But apart from that, it was all pretty different. But yeah, I mean, I think really, really exciting. I really, list of hopes, I guess, is I really hope they explore the lore behind Teresa and also the court / Jack of Blades more. Even if it's not directly having Jack of Blades in the game, because I'm not sure if that's 100% necessary, but just to have a place or a way to find out more again, maybe it's the story of William Black. That would be, I think, a pretty cool story.
Yeah, agreed. I think my main hope as well is I don't mind if they are calling it a reboot, because obviously, a franchise that's pretty much 10 years since the last major release, it's always going to be called a reboot. Even if it is Fable 4, even if it was a direct sequel to Fable 3, it would still be called a reboot of the series because it's sort of bringing it back. But I very much hope that if they are going back in time, and if it is going to be called a reboot, I don't want them to do an alternate timeline. I think a lot of people are talking about that, where they're going to maybe go back to sort of same era as the first game, but do like sort of an alternate start. I hope it's not that. I really, as you said, I really hope that the lore of characters that have already been introduced and the great lore of Fable is continued rather than sort of reset. I want it to be an actual continuation to the original Fable trilogy rather than just rebooting it in a new universe, like kind of like what Andromeda was for Mass Effect. Really, I don't want it to be like that. I want all the lore to stay. It's obviously still in Albion, I think. So hopefully it's
well, it looks exactly like Bowerstone, with Fairfax Castle and whatnot. So it looks like the Bowerstone somewhere in between Fable 1 and Fable 2. If we're being honest, and the fact that there's the guild seal on the sword at the start, or what looks like a bit of a guild seal, suggests that it's not going to be William Black's story, because that was before the guild. And with Bowerstone looking as built up as it does current, like there, and it's got the clock tower as well. It's definitely closer. I think closer to that Fable 2 era, than probably even the Fable 1 era, because it's had time to build. Maybe we're talking about the era where the guild falls. Maybe that happens. Or maybe it's a story that spans multiple eras somehow, and this is just a clip that they've taken from that era. Or maybe there's nothing to read into this, and like you say, it's just that pre-rendering, and it will have absolutely no relation to the final product. But I know, at least if it's got that medieval feel, get rid of the guns and the blunderbusses and that kind of stuff. Again, those are fine, but it's not Fable. Fable's bow and arrow, crossbow, swords, mana, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah, I think everyone is sort of in agreement. If we wanted an RPG with sort of guns and stuff, it definitely wouldn't be Fable that we turn to. We do want the medieval focused backstory rather than the sort of more futuristic setting that they started to go towards. So I think we pretty much confirmed at this point though that it's going back. So we'll just have to see for more news.
It'd be very surprising if they don't. Yeah. I think one thing that I guess being aware of, and what I would advise anyone, is just keep your expectations, I guess, low. The last couple of releases that we've had from Fable, in that Fable Legends or whatever it was, Fable Heroes, along with Fable The Journey, and then you could possibly throw a little bits of Fable 3 and Fable 2 in there, if we're being brutally honest, have been underwhelming compared to what we thought. Now, there's no Peter Molyneux involved in this one, and Playground does have a lot of the original members of Lionhead Studios, but there is, I think, the moment a question mark over, is it going to be Fable in name rather than Fable in feeling? That's my question.
And there's no real way to tell that from this trailer. I think with the whole Toad sort of killing the pixie in that way, it was pretty, I guess they're trying to emulate the vibe of Fable, but there's no way to tell yet until we actually get a feel of the gameplay and what the actual world's going to be looking like in game rather than in the pre-rendered. So, as you say, I think everyone should keep their hopes in check. I know it's hard because we haven't had solid Fable news for so long. It's all been rumors and scraps, and I think the Fable fan base as a whole is very resilient. I know we're all sort of hearing rumors here and there, and it's enough to keep us going. So hopefully this trailer will at least sate our appetite until we can get some proper gameplay and whatnot.
I think the Fable fan base has been the thing that's kept this alive. I think without the fan base,
honestly,
forums and the YouTube videos that, we obviously experience this, but even some of the larger creators that we both enjoy and follow, that do Fable videos still, don't get, the millions or even the hundreds of thousands, or even some of them tens of thousands of views, like, certain other elements on YouTube. And it's really got this cult following, which it has kind of had from the start, if we're honest. And it's a beloved game by any of those that kind of actually give it a try. And I think that's what's kept this alive, and that's why, these members from Lionhead that are now Playground, that have, been obviously making tons of money by doing the Forza games, because those have been super successful for Xbox, have still been, pushing obviously to do this, even without Peter Molyneux, with all of his unkept promises. They've still come back to do this, and so it's hard to keep your expectations down, but at the same time, if we can successfully do that, we're less likely to get disappointed if it's bad or not as good as what we'd hoped. At least if we keep the expectations down, and it's a better chance of at least matching the expectations.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, again, if nothing else, this is way more substantial than all of the rumors and scraps that we've been sort of feeding off of for the last few years. So as long as we're just satisfied with this for a while, I think it'll be okay. We got to give them the time that they need to hopefully bring Fable to life again in the modern day. So we'll see what happens, and I think if anything major is announced or leaked, we'll probably end up covering it here. So definitely keep your eyes out if you guys are looking for more Fable news. We'll definitely get to it as soon as it's sort of announced or leaked. So yeah, keep an eye out.
Not all stories have happy
Absolutely.
endings.
And apart from that, I mean, there's nothing else that we know at all about Fable, so it's kind of still a blank slate despite everything. But fingers crossed it does return to that medieval past, and I think it will be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, we don't want to speculate too much in this video. We were sort of just commentating on what we've actually seen. But definitely, if you guys watching want to see us speculate more in depth on what we think will come to the next Fable game, or what we want to see in the next Fable game, definitely let us know, and maybe we'll do a video on that specifically. But until then, yeah, we'll see you next time.
Of fantastical creatures and wondrous places where nature and magic live in perfect harmony. Not all stories have happy endings. But yours has yet to be written.